In a recent court hearing, significant developments unfolded in the ongoing legal saga of Jamel Demons, widely known by his stage name YNW Melly, as he faces charges for the 2018 double murder of his friends Anthony Williams, YNW Sackchaser, and Christopher Thomas Jr., YNW Juvie. The hearing revealed a new trial date and showcased a rare public clash between Melly and his legal team, marking a pivotal moment in a case that has gripped public attention due to its high-profile nature and the rapper's rising fame. Melly, who has been incarcerated since February 2019, is accused of orchestrating the killings and attempting to disguise them as a drive-by shooting, a narrative that prosecutors have supported with forensic evidence, while the defense argues the lack of a clear motive and questions the credibility of the evidence. During the hearing, Melly openly defied his legal team's advice, a moment that stunned those present in the courtroom. Reports indicate that he was visibly agitated, shouting at his attorneys in a display of frustration. His legal team, led by attorney Raven Liberty, had been advocating for a strategy that would delay the trial further, potentially until 2027, to exclude certain pieces of evidence related to Melly's alleged gang affiliations. However, Melly's outburst revealed his impatience with this approach. He was overheard declaring that he was unconcerned about the inclusion of gang-related evidence, adamantly denying any gang involvement, and asserting that the prosecution could not substantiate such claims. This public disagreement with his lawyers was a significant departure from the usual cohesion expected between a defendant and their counsel, highlighting Melly's desire to expedite the trial process despite the risks. The evidence in question, which includes allegations of Melly's gang membership, is critical to the prosecution's case. Prosecutors argue that the murders were committed in connection with gang activities, which serves as an aggravating factor that could justify seeking the death penalty under Florida's legal framework. If the jury finds this aggravator to be valid, it could significantly impact the penalty phase of the trial, potentially leading to a death sentence rather than life imprisonment without parole. Melly's legal team has been working to have this evidence suppressed, arguing that its inclusion could prejudice the jury and prolong the trial. However, Melly's insistence on proceeding without further delays suggests he is willing to risk the inclusion of this evidence to avoid remaining in pretrial detention for an additional 2 years. The judge, Broward Circuit Court Judge Martin Fine, set the retrial date for September 10, 2025, rejecting requests for further delays. This decision came despite ongoing appeals regarding the admissibility of certain evidence, including a promotional video from Melly's YouTube channel and digital records from his phone, emails, and social media accounts. In a prior ruling, Judge John Murphy, who presided over Melly's first trial before retiring, had suppressed much of this evidence, limiting its use to the day of the murders and the immediate aftermath. Prosecutors have appealed this decision to the 4th District Court of Appeal, seeking to have the evidence reinstated, but Judge Fine upheld the suppression orders, meaning the state will proceed without this material unless the appeal overturns the ruling. Melly's legal team also made a renewed effort to secure his release on bond pending the retrial, proposing stringent conditions such as house arrest, an ankle monitor, and round-the-clock security funded by his record label, 300 Entertainment. However, the judge denied this request, citing the severity of the charges, 2 counts of first-degree murder, and additional allegations of witness tampering. The prosecution argued that Melly poses a danger to the community, pointing to ballistic evidence, cell phone records, and a newly updated evidence file that they claim places Melly at the scene of the crime. This evidence includes a video allegedly showing Melly admitting to the murders just 5 hours after they occurred, as well as footage capturing him dancing in a parking lot with co-defendant Cordell Henry YNW Bordelon, displaying no apparent remorse for the loss of their friends. The prosecution's case is further bolstered by testimony from key witnesses, including the mother of Christopher Thomas Jr., who confirmed that Melly was seated in the back left seat of the Jeep where the fatal shots were fired. Court documents indicate that the trajectory of the bullet supports this claim, as they traveled from left to right, consistent with originating from Melly's position. This forensic evidence contradicts Melly and Henry's initial claim that the victims were killed in a drive-by shooting, a narrative the prosecution alleges was staged by the defendants after they shot the victims from inside the vehicle and then fired additional rounds from outside to mimic an external attack. Adding complexity to the case, prosecutors have introduced evidence of witness tampering involving Melly, Henry, and another inmate, Terrence Mathis. The trio is accused of using coded language and fake names to communicate with Melly's ex-girlfriend, Mariah Hamilton, and her mother, Felicia Holmes, to prevent their testimony in the first trial. Hamilton, who had been living outside the United States, was arrested upon her return to Miami International Airport and subsequently agreed to testify against Melly in exchange for her release. Her iCloud account allegedly contains evidence that Melly coerced or paid her to avoid testifying, a charge that carries significant weight. The witness tampering allegations are being treated as a separate case, with a pretrial hearing scheduled for December 5, 2024. A conviction on these charges alone could result in a life sentence, even if Melly is acquitted of the murder charges. The prosecution's strategy also involves trying Melly and Henry together in the upcoming retrial, a move that could benefit the state by increasing the likelihood that the co-defendants incriminate each other. This approach contrasts with the defense's preference to sever the trials, allowing each defendant to potentially shift blame to the other. The decision to try them together is seen as a tactical advantage for the prosecution, as it streamlines the process and may exploit any inconsistencies in their respective defenses. Melly's legal team has previously attempted to deflect blame onto Henry, pointing to forensic evidence of gunshot residue on Henry's hands and inconsistencies in his statements to police about the incident. Melly's prolonged detention, over 2,320 days without a guilty verdict, has become a point of contention. His attorneys have filed a lawsuit against the Broward Sheriff's Office, alleging that Melly is being subjected to unconstitutional conditions, including debilitating isolation and denial of phone calls and family visits. Melly's mother, Jamie King, has publicly expressed her distress, stating that she has not heard her son's voice since 2022 and is uncertain about his well-being. The lawsuit claims that Melly's treatment violates multiple constitutional amendments, and his legal team has argued that his mental and physical health are deteriorating due to the restrictive conditions. Despite these efforts, the Broward Sheriff's Office maintains that Melly's administrative segregation is necessary for safety reasons, and the judge has upheld his continued detention. The case has faced numerous delays since the first trial ended in a mistrial in July 2023, after the jury failed to reach a unanimous verdict following 14 hours of deliberation over 3 days. The hung jury voted 9-3 in favor of convicting Melly on lesser manslaughter charges, indicating a division that may persist in the retrial. Additional complications arose from disputes over evidence, including the suppression of a promotional video and digital records, as well as allegations of prosecutorial misconduct and issues with the credibility of the lead investigator, Miramar Police Detective Mark Moretti. These factors have contributed to the slow progression of the case, with Melly's attorneys filing over 20 motions that remain unresolved, further prolonging the pretrial phase. Public sentiment, as reflected on social media platforms like X, shows a mix of support and skepticism. Some posts highlight Melly's mother's frustration with the legal process and her claims that his attorneys have mishandled the case, particularly regarding bond hearings. Others discuss the defense's efforts to discredit the prosecution's evidence, suggesting that Melly's legal team is working to create reasonable doubt. The case has also drawn attention from figures in the hip-hop community, with rapper Kendrick Lamar referencing Melly in his song Euphoria, a nod that Melly acknowledged as both an honor and a slight. As the September 2025 trial date approaches, the stakes remain high for Melly, who faces the possibility of a death sentence or life imprisonment without parole. The prosecution's updated evidence file, combined with the witness tampering charges and the testimony of key witnesses like Mariah Hamilton, poses significant challenges for the defense. Meanwhile, Melly's public defiance of his legal team's strategy underscores his determination to move forward, even at the risk of facing damaging evidence. The outcome of the retrial will hinge on the jury's interpretation of the forensic evidence, witness testimonies, and the legal maneuvering of both sides, all set against the backdrop of Melly's rising fame and the cultural impact of his music. https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/trial_YNW Melly. https://www.miamiherald.com/news/local/crime/article 289754609.html/https://www.newsweek.com/who-hyphen-melly-update-rappers-florida-Florida-retrial-death-penalty-case-194364